Hi guys, good morning. So how is everyone doing today? I hope everyone is healthy and are doing well. Okay, so let's just recap back before I proceed to the topic for today. So previously we have covered about research methods on experimental method and non-experimental method. So we did under experimental, we discussed about lab, field, and quasi. And then under non-experimental method, we discussed about observation, we talked about self-report, we also talked about case study and then correlational study, okay? So we are done with the brief introduction of every research method. So now, today, we're gonna go into one of the component under experimental methods. So as you know, as of now, you know that experiment are the three types, which are lab, field, and quasi, okay? Now, another key term that you need to know that I want to teach today is experimental design, okay? Now, this term only applicable for experiments saja. So, this experimental design is only applicable to lab, field, and quasi-experiment only. Hence, that's why it is called as experimental design. It's not for non-experimental methods, okay? So this term does not apply to non-experimental methods like observation and so on, okay? Now, what is meant by experimental design? It is how the participants are allocated to the conditions of the IV. So as you know, experiment are the IVs and are the DV. So IV is usually more than one in order to make comparison. For example, you have participant exercising for different hours. So for example, group 1, you ask them to exercise for 5 hours, group 2 for 10 hours, group 3 for 15 hours, okay? So in that case, you have 3 levels of IV. You have 3 different conditions, 3 different groups of IV, okay? So experimental design is basically how you divide the participant into those different IV. So there are 3 types of design, or three ways on how participants can be allocated, which are repeated measure, independent groups, and match pair design. So today I'm gonna go through the definition for each of this experimental design, okay? Alright, now the first one is repeated measure design. So before you actually read through those points, I want you to just look at the picture, because the picture illustrates how the participants are divided into different level of the IV. So if you see there are 3 level of IV, meaning that there are 3 separate IV there. And then I want you to look at the identity of the participant. So each participants there are labeled with a letter, right? A, B, C, D, E. And then if you notice, the time is different. For example, at 3 o'clock, and then time number 1 is 3 o'clock, and then time point number 2 is 5 o'clock, time point number 3 is 8 o'clock. So IV-nya, it's to do with time, okay? Now, they were asked to measure, for example, here you got blood pressure. So, what I want you to focus on is, look at the participant. They have 3 level of IV, 3 different IV there. But the participant, I want you to look at it. If you notice that the participants are the same. CA, CB, CC, CD, CE. Same thing with time point number 2, sama juga. They are using the same participant, CA until CE. And then if you look at time point number 3, the participant is also the same person, CA until CE. Okay? So, if you go to the definition there, repeated measure design means it's a design where the same group of people participate in every level of the IV. So, which means that it's repeated, meaning that participants repeating their performance under different condition. So, you have 3 IV, but you're using the same participant in each condition of the IV. So, meaning they have to do it at 3 o'clock, and then at 5 o'clock they have to do the experiment again, and then at at 8 o'clock, they have to repeat the same experiment again. Okay, so you're using the same participant for all the level of the IV. That's why it is called as repeated measure design. Just focus on the word repeated. So it means that you are using the same group of people for every level of the IV, where they have to repeat the performance but under different condition of the IVs. Okay, now the second one is independent group. This is the opposite to repeated measure. Now I want you to go straight to the picture first. So you have two conditions here, two condition of the IV, condition A, condition B. So if you see there, condition A is a quiet condition, condition B is a music condition. Okay, and then now I want you to focus on the identity of the participant. Arah condition A, if you see there, the participant is CA, CB, CC, CD, CE. Okay, but arah condition B, if you look at the participant, it starts off from CF, G, H, I, J. So different participant for different condition of the IV. That would be the definition for independent group. So independent group design, it's a design where each participant is in one condition of the IV. So meaning that every participant, they just have to participate in one condition saja. They don't have to repeat to be in the second or third condition. They just have to do one condition saja. Okay. So if you look at the second bullet point there, this means that the data for each level of the IV is independent because it is not related to any other data. It has come from different people. So if you look at a repeated measure, condition A, B, C are all the same participant. So the data are related to one another because you're using the same participant. But in this case, you're using different participant from 4 different conditions. Hence, that's why the data are not similar because you're using different people. Okay, so they are independent. The data for condition A is different people, condition B is different people. So this is another way where researcher can divide the participant into the condition. So either they ask the participant to repeat the condition, or they use different people in different condition. Okay, so now to the third types of experimental design. It is called as match pair because you are dealing with matching of the participant. So if you see the second bullet point there, participants are matched into pairs who are similar in ways that are important to that experiment, such as age, gender, intelligence, or personality. So meaning that participants are grouped into the condition based on things that are similar. For example, I want to group them based on the similarity of their age. So, for example, I want 20 participants. So 10 would be in condition A, 10 would be in condition B. But then how am I going to divide? How am I going to assign who goes to A, who goes to B? I match it based on their age. So for example, there's 20 participants. So those who are aged 20 to 30, for example, goes to condition A. Those who age 40 to 50, I put them arah condition B. So meaning I divide the participant based on a variable that is important or relevant to the study, which is in this case age. But it can be anything according to depends on the researcher lah, whatever they want to base it on. Okay, or for example, if my study is about personality, so I would divide them into their personality, either they are introvert or extrovert. So for example, introvert masuk arah condition A, extrovert masuk arah condition B. Okay, so again, it shows that they were matched into the group based on their personality, but it can be anything. Okay, so if you see at the third bullet point there, this matching is done on variables relevant to the study. So it's up to the researcher how do they want to match it. They can again match it in terms of intelligence, like condition A yang intelligence score-nya high, condition B are those yang intelligence-nya low. So it depends on the topic of the study ito. So matching are usually done based on what the study are looking at. So I put there an example, a study on the effects of playing violent computer games. Participant might be matched on their existing level of aggression. So in this case, participants are put into the condition according to their level of aggression. So for example, you have high level of aggression, medium level of aggression, low level of aggression. So those yang low level of aggression in condition A, yang medium are condition B, yang high are condition C. Okay, so in this case, again, they are matched according to their level of aggression, and then baru tadi were put into different condition according to their similarity. So that is what match pair means. So repeated measure, basically using the same participant for every condition. Independent group is the opposite, artinya they're using different participant for different condition. Match pair is basically the participant were allocated based on similarities that they have between the participants ito. Okay? So that's 3 ways on how participant can be allocated to different conditions of the IB. Now again, I wanted to emphasize that experimental design is only applicable to experimental methods saja, which are lab, field, and quasi. The reason why it's only relevant for experimental method is because non-experimental method nada IV. Experimental method is the only one that have IV. So hence that's why experimental design are only relatable or applicable to experimental methods saja. Okay? So it goes like this. When you're doing an experiment, for example, you want to do a lab experiment, okay, it's a lab experiment, you already have your hypothesis, right? Okay, lepas itu you cari your participant. After you cari your participant, then you have to pikirkan how are you gonna put these people into different groups. Then that's when experimental design comes, that's where you have to think about the experimental design. So you have the participant, the next thing you need to think of is which experimental design are you going to choose. Are you going to choose repeated measure, independent group, and match pair? Now different types of experimental design have its own advantage and disadvantages, okay, which we will discuss in the next slide again. Now another group discussion that I want you guys to do. So I just want one advantage and one disadvantage of repeated measure design, and also one advantage and one disadvantage of using independent group design. Now, I already pointed out yesterday on my previous video that I want you to really use your brain. Okay? You don't have to Google this point. Now, for example, let's go through the first one, repeated measure. So as of now, you already know that repeated measure means that you are using the same participant. So meaning that that participant have to repeat the same experiment but in different conditions. So they have to do it, for example, yang tadi I gave, they have to do it at 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock. So they have to repeat the experiment but at different times. What do you think would be the advantage for that? And what would be the disadvantages of having participants repeating the same experiment? Okay, so I want you to just think logically. You don't have to use psychological terms because obviously I haven't teach you all the psychological terms, but I want you to think logically saja. What could be good about it? What could be bad about it? Okay. And then the second one there, one advantage jua and one disadvantage of using independent group design. So tadi I said independent means different participant, different condition. So artinya that participant only have to do the experiment once saja. So there's a good in it, there's also a bad in it. So I want you to figure out what's good about having the participant doing one condition saja, and what's the bad thing about it. Okay, again, if you actually discuss this with your group member, discuss it as one team, you will be able to come up with a good answer. Like I said, I don't need you to use scientific term or psychological term. I just want you to think logically saja, okay? I want you to put yourself into the shoes of the researcher and think of what could go wrong, what is the good thing about it, what is the bad thing about it, okay? Now, I want this to be presented macam last time via voice note, sorry, on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. Hold on. Today is Tuesday, not on Wednesday. It should be presented on Thursday. Sorry, Thursday, 24th of March. Via voice note, and then I want you to pick the presenter that haven't present before. Now, if you have problem picking the presenter, let me pick the presenter for you, okay? So point is, I don't want the same person as yang last time. So I want another participant, because I think at the end, everyone will have to present anyway. So those ada that one group, all the groups presented right last time. So you can do the same thing again. You can ask all the team member to present, but just compile it together. But for the rest, you just pick one presenter to present the point, okay? Pick the one yang belum present before. Okay, so that would be it for today. So as usual, please fill in the exit ticket and then proceed to your group discussion. Don't forget that you have to prepare the voice note so we can do the sharing session on Thursday during class time, okay? All right, I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. So if you have any question or any query, please let me know. And also another gentle reminder, please all members do participate in this discussion. I really frown upon those who did not contribute to any points or did not give any point, did not even put effort in this, because this is a group work. You are doing this together, so please cooperate with one another. And again, if kalau ada your team member are not cooperating, please let me know. Text me privately and then I would confront the person, okay? So please be responsible on the task that I give you. Do your part, okay? All right, talk to you guys in the next video.